Hello everybody and welcome back to Skip Allen Paints. This is the 9th video in a series of videos about the HOS 2013 watercolor, about the 2013 floral brush category, and they are watercolors. Okay, so now we've dropped everything to the same layer and made it a watercolor layer again. The reason that we needed to do that is because the flower brushes need to interact with the watercolor in order for them to work. The first one, called Flower Maker, is actually going to eat paint away. And so if I take it and put it, orangey color, the color really doesn't matter, and I come over here to the side and I begin to twirl it around, it begins to eat the paint away and make a flower. But notice, I'm not really making a flower there. We could possibly call that a mum, if we really thought about it. It's not the brush that makes the flower, it's actually the paper. So what I've done is I've made a bunch of papers. And the way I made these papers is I used David Gell's Suminagashi brushes. And I call them Suminagashi papers, and I will make these available for you at the blog. So if I switch to one of these papers, it looks like this. And this particular one, Z Suminagashi Bulge, gives me some pretty nice flowers at the scale of 32%. Scale makes all the difference in the world. So if I come over here with this flower, let me put a dark color on there, although the color doesn't show a lot when you're using Flower Maker because it's eating the color away. But notice that when I start to go round and round, I begin to get some kind of organic form that you can then think, oh, well, yeah, that's flower-like. And that's how these brushes work, is they work with the paper so that they begin to follow the hills and valley of the paper. Now let's do that again. So if I just twirl it around a little bit, it begins to fan out to a flower. Now this one went up into a petal off to the side. So what I would probably do is I would just go off a little bit to that direction, or maybe a little bit to the bottom direction, so that I get a complete circular flower look. You could also put the point down, just straight down, and hold it steady and let it just begin to do its thing and flow out until you get a flower. Sometimes it gets stuck in one particular place and it doesn't really make a flower. Like that one isn't making much of a flower. So I would move it down a little bit and begin to, let it tend to make something else. Now, I've never used dark colors to do this. I usually use very light colors, okay? So I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to pick one of these light yellows that we have in here. And the first place I'm going to start is right down here, and I'm going to do a couple of fairly big flowers to start off with. So we'll just do this in round shape. And there I have a big flower. And I'll kind of do this one a little bit rounder, and I get another big flower. And you notice how when I do this one, the other one continues to flow, especially if it's still wet. If you have that happen, click on Dry Watercolor Layer, and it will dry the flower so it won't flow anymore. And you find that command under Layers, Dry Watercolor Layer. But I put it on my custom palette. And I want one more of those, and I think I'll put it right here. Right there. And we're going to dry the watercolor layer. All right. Now, I've got 3 flowers there. They're kind of nondescript flowers, but that's where the flower painter comes in, because it's not going to move the pixels around. It's still going to follow the path dictated by the paper, but it's not going to move any of the pixels around. So let's pick some of this nice orangey yellow here, and we'll start putting it right in the center of this flower. See, it'll be dark in the center and then kind of fan out. And this center is sort of over to the side, so we'll put it there and let it fan out. And this one, probably up there, but we're going to force it to be down here. Now see, adding that little bit of color does tend to make the flower more floral. Now, let's pick some of this other color, like this nice bright orange. And we'll come out here to the top. And, oh, that's so much like this other color. That's all right for the moment, because that other stuff's going to change a bit. So we'll put just a little bit of color out on the outer edge of the leaves, and maybe let's bring in something else. He's got some other colors in here that would probably work beautifully. Look at all this color in here. I think I want just a touch of this pinky purple, if we can get it. Getting it might not be easy. It looks pinky purple. That's getting close. But it's grayed so much. Let's bring that out a bit. Now I'm going to put that right into the center again. That darkened it too much, so let's put it right out here. A little bit right there. And a little bit right here. Now, if you ever don't like what you're doing, or it's getting too dark, come back in with your flower maker and just hit it a tad or two, and it'll lighten up that leaf. Don't forget you have dry watercolor where you can dry it. So I can come into here and then dry the watercolor. And, you know, just continue to lighten what I need to lighten. And then draw the watercolor layer. Okay. So that's kind of how you make these flowers. And actually, I've really kind of messed them up, I think. So I'm going to go back and do those again, starting right here. And it's just going to take away all that color that I put in and move it out to the side. Just like that. And I'm going to come out here and kind of get some of that out. There. Now I'm going to go back to that yellow, or a yellow, and put it in the center. I think just having the yellow in the center. Oh, you know what? Shouldn't have done that. We want to use Flower Painter to put the yellow in. Because remember, it doesn't eat away what's currently there. And after we put a little bit of that yellow in, we need to get a little bit darker color and just darken the center a little so that it begins to recede. You know, we begin to think that there's a hole into the flower. There, I think that's better. Okay, now, gosh, we're at 9 minutes. I'm going to go on and keep going for a minute or two. We're going to go up here and find another one. We're going to go to the one directly above, and I have it down at 25%. And I'm going to go back to the flower maker, and I just want to come into these little flowers here and just lightly tap them to sort of begin to make the flowers go out, but I can't do them that fast because they need to be dried in between. See, otherwise they get too big. And let me bring this over here so I'm closer to it. Some of these will be on top. Some will be underneath, depending on how I start the flower. So these are all on top. Move this over a little bit. And I think I will go ahead and put this one on top. Oops. Dry watercolor layer. Dry watercolor layer. Dry watercolor layer. Oops, changed brushes. Flower maker. Dry watercolor layer. Dry watercolor layer. Dry watercolor layer. Dry and dry. Don't need to go all the way out to the end. Now these I think I'm just going to put right here. So they're kind of behind some of this stuff. Not all of it, but some of it. And this one will go right there, right there, right there. And we'll sort of skip it, and then we'll come over here, 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 and there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is come back with Flower Painter, and we're going to get some nice color to go in there. And let's see what we can find. I like that bright orange right there. Yeah, that's bright. So if we come in here and just put in that bright orange, we don't have to put it in all of them, you know, just some of them. And let's get another color. Let's see what this blue looks like. Let's bring it over to a brighter blue. It's just too gray. So that's not going to work. To get that blue, we would really have to bring it down into a blue-green, I think, to get it to look pretty blue. Yeah, see, that's what we need. That's kind of off of our color scheme. If we brought it down some, that would still be in our scheme. But again, it's kind of dull. But a little bit of that probably looks okay. All right, so we've done all of this. The next thing I would do is I would add another watercolor layer. And we have to go to the next video to see that because we just went over in this video a long way. All right, come back and we're getting close to finished. Bye-bye.